Welcome back to another episode of the Bleed Lows podcast, another off-season episode, I might add. Joining us tonight is a familiar face in the Dodgers social media landscape, Tim Rogers of Blue Madness, formerly Dodgers 2080. And we're going to go over all of the latest rumors surrounding the Dodgers heading into this winter. But before we get into all of that, let's thank our sponsor, BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action, the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football to the NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, and MMA, you name it, they got it. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline. The game starts here. And Tim, I feel like we've been trying to set this up for a little bit now. We're here in the middle, kind of getting close to the end of November here. So the offseason, it's going to start getting, steamrolled here. But I want to kind of reflect, and we were touching on this on last week's live on the show, kind of, with the World Series, the way it ended. New York Yankees falling in 5 games, Dodgers winning it all in New York. You were actually there, my friend, and I kind of want to just get your, reactions, your feelings. Just tell me everything how it was in New York watching the team kind of finally win it all.
Yeah, it's I'll start, and you can speed me up or slow me down real quick. We're still Dodgers 2080, but the podcast is Blue Madness Podcast. I was having so many weird issues with Instagram and Facebook. It killed my page on Facebook. So my goal this year, so I went to everything in 2017. I went to all 4 World Series games at home. Obviously, that was very painful. Game 2 and Game 7. This year, my thing was, hey, I just want to go to clinching games. That's where I want to go. They have a chance to clinch. So I went up and, and you've done this. So you have a media pass too sometimes. When you have a media pass, you get a little spoiled. So I don't even care where I sit anymore. When I go by myself, I don't even care. So game 5 against Padres, I went and sat up in the nosebleed. We're at the very top section. Loved it. Had a great time. They win. Same thing with the Mets. Go way to the top. I don't care. I'm just having a good time. So now it's a little trickier with the World Series because it's looking like, oh boy, they're up 2-0. Watching game 3, I didn't have any tickets yet. My wife was in on it. She's like, okay, I'm going too. All right, here we go. So that obviously that makes it a little different, right? When it's not just you. So we're watching the game, and so they win game 3. I'm like, we're going. I start getting tickets, all that good stuff. Send a work email out. I'd warn people at work, hey, I'm going if we have a chance of winning. Get out there, get on a plane within, we left the house like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Got to New York, had plenty of time actually. Everything worked out well. We had a direct flight, and then went to the game that night, right? Yeah, because it was game 3. That was the Walker Buehler game, and then we had game 4 the next day, and we're there. And we've been to Manhattan before, but we've never really been into the Bronx. So we're just figuring it out. We get crazy drivers to, was it Lyft or Uber, which one it was. Got women rolling down their windows, yelling at us as our drivers trying to get into the Bronx. It's very different. And so we get to the stadium, it's absolute disaster. Obviously they lose like that. I just want to win because these tickets were expensive. So I mean, I'm not going to say, but they were a lot. And they were really bad seats. They were way in left field, 4th deck.
Yeah, I mean, I was curious because I assumed after the Yankees went down 2-0, especially when they went down 3-0, I thought that, the tickets were probably going to drop significantly in price. And I did see that around social media, various websites, whether, it's like TickPick, stuff like that, StubHub. They kind of went from, the beginning of the series, they were like 1,200 for the nosebleeds. Then they started going down a little bit, especially once the series shifted to New York. But I know they definitely called a pretty penny there. I've only been to Yankee Stadium once, and it was kind of when the Yankees were in a funk. It was before the baby monitors even got called up. So I think it was like 2016 or 15. So stadium wasn't too busy. The city itself around there wasn't too busy. But I imagine this time around, first World Series appearance in since 2009 for the Yankees, it had to have been crazy over there.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. That game 4 went out, and then we didn't understand the lay of the land. But at the end of the day, we didn't get our ride home picking us up till 1 a.m. because we were basically in the wrong spot. We just didn't know. And so, oh, did I lose my background?
I think it may have went off.
Well, oh dang it. I'll see if I can fix it while we're talking here.
Oh,
There it
there
is.
we go.
There
It's
we
back.
go. All right. And my lovely green screen. You're welcome, everybody. So the next day we went into the Bronx a lot earlier to go get a figure where we're going to get picked up that night. And then to be honest, man, it was gross there. I cannot handle smoke, especially marijuana smoke. It's just weed. I mean, we literally saw a mom with a baby in the stroller. Look, I lost it again. Oh well. Smoking weed. So kind of disgusting. Ate at a deli, whatever. It was okay. Nothing special. But ended up getting to the game. A lot of people in blue, ready to rock and roll, which was great. We saw lots of different things. I'm just going to leave this thing here. A lot of different things. Met some people, and in general, the Yankee fans were fine. And then watching game 5. Usually I sit on the end, right? My wife's next to me. This one guy gets and sits next to my wife, and he's one of those guys all puffed up, He's like, oh man, this guy's gonna be a problem. And so my wife's like, hey, we need to switch. It's like, all right, we're switching. And so my way of dealing with these people is just to start talking with them, just to have and calm them down. And so this is where it gets weird. All right. I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious now. So bottom of the fourth inning when they're down 5-0, all the Yankees are having a good time. Got some Dodger fans around, still having a good time. Texting, I had a good text with some of the guys from the Quakes and everything like that. They were all there. Like Peyton Martin was texting me, and a few others. So a lot of people were at the ballpark. But so bottom of the fourth, I was like, hey, I want a Gatorade. I need something other than a Coke, or water. She just wanted that. So we're wandering around this bottom, and so the top of the fifth starts, and we're watching, walking and going, and all of a sudden things are just starting to happen. The Dodgers are doing this, the Yankees are doing this, the Yankees are doing that. And seeing this and seeing the stadium in, some people got a lot louder, but in general, the stadium got a lot softer. And so that inning happened. We ended up finally going back to our seats, and the Yankees took the lead again. And then it's like bottom of the seventh. My wife's like, I got to go to the bathroom. And I'm not letting her go by herself. But as we get up, I just go to the people around me and go, if we're heading there and the Dodgers start scoring, we're not coming back. And what do you know? They start scoring runs. So we did not go back to our seats, and we ended up. So I spied a couple security guys from the Dodgers. Turns out, I saw Daniel Hudson's wife. She had a shirt on. She was really stressed, and I'm sure because remember the day before Huddy gave up that grand slam, and now we know that his arm was about to fall off. But so we were just like, hey, let's just be safe. If the Dodgers win or lose, let's be safe, be around these security guys. So we hung around a lot of Dodger fans there. Everything was cool. We, witnessed the end, and everyone's freaking out. Obviously, the fans start, it's the friends and family section. They are filing out. This one lady turns to us and just goes, I'm Walker Bueller's mom. Like, yeah, baby. And we saw Mookie's mom, his wife, all these all these relatives slapping fives with them, going down there, enjoying everything going on. It was overwhelming. It was this thing, in 1980. Hey, folks, in 1988, I didn't go to anything. because I thought, oh, we'll be back again. It was 36 years later, folks. If you have the chance, like they say, buy the tickets. And then, we're well worth it. Obviously, had a great time. Just flying, but not literally, but flying home in the hotel, in the cab, talking to my son who's in Florida. He was up late because he's also on East Coast time, just talking about everything. And then, heading back. And then, of course, Friday was what? the parade. I was trying to get my son out. That didn't work out, but my man Roger was there. We hung out a bit. Doug McCain was there from the other channels, and it was great. Overall, an amazing experience. I don't know if I'll do that much again, but it was amazing for everybody. You just to see all the fans. You guys heard it. If you weren't able to be at the stadium or at the parade, it was glorious. I mean, just everyone showed up. The Dodgers were excited about it. Obviously, the fans were excited. It was as loud as a game, as any game when they're with the cheering. So it was a great experience. Very happy to do it. I will be putting a kidney for sale and a liver for sale, or part of a liver for sale. So it'll be on eBay. Got to pay back those bills. But yeah, it was great. And it's great talking about it, to be honest with you. I've told the story, well over 100 times, but it's been a great time. And man, what a season.
Yeah. I mean, I think it means more right now because even when they won it all in 2020, like a very limited amount of fans were allowed to go. Most people in Los Angeles or even on the East Coast, like with Tampa Bay Rays fans, that they didn't get to go to those games, and even when they won the World Series, there still was that, feeling like, man, I wish they either got to do it at home or, hey, I wish they got to do it with the parade after. And then you kind of saw it with the parade and everything after. We talked about this last week as well, where, the players had emotion, especially the ones that were on that 2020 team. You're talking about Kike Hernandez, you're talking about Clayton Kershaw, who, he said it himself, he barely did anything to help this team, win it all this year. And I thought this was more of a celebration for him for 2020 and finally getting to see everything that he's worked towards for his entire career. So I think it was special. And I'm feeling for your wallet right now, with the round trip flights, the hotels and the World Series tickets. But I'm gonna make a safe bet in that you wouldn't trade it for anything right now.
Oh heck no. Yeah, that was awesome. It was truly, yeah, a great experience, and I'm still living it, to be honest with you. I still feel it. I'm in San Diego, and so it's a little extra. Guess what? The only polos I wear to work are Dodger polos right now. I'm quiet about it, but I'm there, and just think. I mean, I don't know about your channel, but I was doing a live after Game 3 against the Padres when they're down 2-1, and man, we have people saying trade Mookie, trade this guy, trade that guy, get rid of Freddie, all that stuff. It was getting really bad. And hey, let's be honest, and we've heard it. The Dodgers themselves admit it. The Padres were the best team going into the playoffs. And the Dodgers overcame that, and they were just a new group of men after that Padres series. Maybe even just after Game 4.
Yeah, I mean, we had the same fans. The same frustrations, trying to, you're seeing shades of, 2022 where, they go into San Diego, they're down in the series. Like even my thought process in the back of my head, I'm like, man, I don't think they're coming back out of this. And like you said, it just felt like a new group of men, new group of players. They kind of had that mentality that they weren't going to lose to this team again. And wouldn't you know, if you listen to, Mookie Betts podcast for, with Dave Roberts, like you mentioned, they kind of went over that. They said the Padres were the best team, in baseball heading into that series. And I could see why they had more starting pitching than the Dodgers. They had a lineup that at that time was better, I would say 1 through 9, and even their bench players like Higashioka just turned into, Babe Ruth that postseason in the first 2 rounds, hitting home runs here and there. And the Dodgers, despite everything, they ended up, winning the World Series. And I think they did get a lot of momentum from that Padres series. I've stated that, while we were covering the team in the postseason last week. I said that was pretty much probably the reason why. Well, I think we all had the same thought process where we were like, all right, whoever wins that series, was going to win the World Series. I'm not sure if you disagree with that or not, because I feel like if the Dodgers didn't move on, I think the Padres probably would have been in that same spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're the Padres. They're that high momentum, low momentum team, and they would have taken that and gone probably a long way. Um, yeah, it just worked out really well. This team gelled. I actually, yeah, that podcast with Mookie and Dave, I actually did a reaction video, so please take a look at it, folks. It was amazing. The insights that were provided there, some of the things with Max Muncy's been very open, Miggy Rowe, and then just that interview with Max and Honeywell, where you heard about what Honeywell did to help Mookie get out of his slump, and it changed the game with those guys, and really proud of that team. It's a team that you just got to be happy for. Great group of people. I mean, I've been in the clubhouse a little bit there, and you can't beat that group.
All right, so Tim, we saw how good this team was in 2024. Obviously, they're world champions of baseball right now, and they kind of get a late start to go into the offseason. I guess that's the, other side of being, going on a deep October run. You kind of go straight from World Series parade, and then straight to the offseason, and you have to make some tough decisions. Dodgers have a couple free agents. We spoke last week on our live of kind of about where we, saw that group, who we want back, who we think's going to come back. And I'm pretty sure you've probably gone over it as well on your channel, but I'm kind of interested in your thoughts for people that haven't heard about it. You see the free agents that we have, Teoscar Hernandez, Jack Flaherty, Walker Buehler, Blake Trinan, Joe Kelly, Kike Hernandez. Those are the big guys that are on the free agent market right now. Obviously, Hernandez had the qualifying offer, extended to him. I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure, that he will decline it. I believe the deadline for that is coming up soon. So we should definitely hear more on that. But I'm curious to what you think, of that group. Who are you bringing back? Like, are you going to try to re-sign most of these guys? Are you going to have to make some tough decisions? There's a lot of Juan Soto talk that could definitely affect Teoscar Hernandez's, reunion with the Dodgers. But personally, what are you thinking here altogether?
Yeah, I think if you were to just if the Dodgers re-signed every one of their free agents, they're easily the favorite to win the 2025 World Series. And then you go, well, then, and let's just say that we're not going to. But I think if we re-sign some of these guys that really showed in the postseason, and this is about October, we know this. We know that the Dodgers can figure out a way to win 105 games. But to have guys like Kike Hernandez and Walker Buehler, Blake Trinan, I mean, guys like that, and of course, Teoscar Hernandez, those guys all showed up. These are players we've been waiting for. We didn't have some of those guys last year. We didn't. Oh yeah, Kike, and that was it. The rest of them we didn't have. So to bring those guys back would be wonderful. And of course, Kershaw's a free agent. We know he's coming back once the injured lists are wide open again. So thank goodness we want him back and get those 3,000 Ks. But running those guys back, I think would be awesome. We hear the Roki Sasaki things. I think the Dodgers are going to get him. That's just my hunch. I have no inside information. I put it at 70%. And then you do hear that they're going after some pitchers. And they did go a little bit harder after Snell than I believe we think. That we heard. My channel has been all over Snell since spring training last year. I wanted him bad. I got a whole video just on that one. But Snell would be great. Corbin Burns would be great. Max Fried would be great. But Fried and Burns do come with the QO. I think at the end of the day, if I have to go into a playoff game right now, Blake Snell's one of my top guys. He's proven himself.
I definitely think the Dodgers are going to be heavily invested in the starting pitching market. And that's kind of something that we've covered on this channel. It's definitely something I've covered on Dodgers Beat as well, where it's like, the Dodgers, they did everything they could last offseason to kind of provide their team with extended depth in the pitching department. And, it still seemed like after all of that, they ended up in the same exact position as they were in 2023. However, this time, the players that they had in that 3-man rotation were a lot better equipped for a deep October run. Like I had more faith in Walker Bueller than I did in Lance Lynn. I had more faith in Jack Flaherty than I did in Bobby Miller and so forth. And Yamamoto pretty much showed in this, this entire season, if you take away that San Diego start at the beginning of the year in Korea, he had like a sub-3 ERA and he looked excellent besides getting, having the shoulder injury in the middle, half of the season. Starting pitching's just, you can never have too much. And I know that's a phrase that you've said time and time again. That's something that I've pushed as well, where starters, they don't come, as often. They don't go as deep as they once did. And when you get starters on the free agent or trade market, I mean, I feel like you have to go all in on those because we really don't know there's a lot of question marks with next year's rotation. Ohtani's already going to be delayed because of the labrum surgery. That's a given. Yamamoto, I don't know how much they're going to want to push him because, like you said, it all matters in October. And he's coming off a shoulder strain, a rotator cuff strain. When it's a strain, that means it's almost a tear. And like, you want to make sure you're nursing that. I'm going to say it's fully healed or healed enough because he looks really sharp in the postseason. Tyler Glasnow is another one. That's a big wild card for me right now because when that guy's on, I'm a firm believer that he is the most talent and the nastiest stuff on the rotation. I would say besides like Dustin May, who's like, I mean, I hope we can get like maybe 60 innings out of May this year. We'll see what happens with that. But they have to get a starter. And I'm glad you brought up Blake Snell because this is the guy I think they did have a lot more interest. There was an article in The Athletic I was reading I believe, like 2 weeks ago, where they were saying that the Dodgers were like really heavily invested in trying to trade for him
Yeah.
while he was on the San Francisco Giants. So, I mean, is Snell at the top of your wish list? I mean, I feel like all the signs point to him. He's a lefty. They could probably get him on like a 3 to 4, maybe 5-year contract. And then he doesn't have the qualifying offer involved at all. And if you're going to be going over the CBT every year for the next 5 years at least, I mean, you want to make sure that you have, no draft picks being lost to other clubs. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, with Snell, I just the raw stuff's there. We know he's got control issues. He does walk too many guys. That did go down this year, even with his bad start. But I also go, what could Blake Snell do with, in the prior lab? What are they going to do with him? What's Connor McGinnis going to come up with? What's that little grip that he's going to find with him to all of a sudden change him from one type of pitcher to being dominant? I mean, look what they did with Banda. I mean, geez, it just took what, a day, and all of a sudden they have one of the better relievers in baseball. I mean, they do a lot of things. So I'd like to see that. I'll take any of those pitchers for sure. But Fried's kind of lowest on my list. I feel he's going to break before the rest of them. I'm obviously could be wrong, but I'm afraid of that. And Sasaki, he has even thrown 100 innings in a season yet. There's not a lot there in that. So whatever we have, we're going to need some guys that are going to put in some innings because the guys that were supposed to help us in 2025 are all recovering from Tommy John surgery. The River Ryans, right? Emmett Sheehan's, that was his shoulder. Kyle Hurt, Gavin Stone, man. That dude, there's a lot of guys that were not on that World Series roster that, like a Gavin Stone and an Evan Phillips, and there's a few others just off the top. Glasnow. There's a couple others that were so important to this team and did so much for them that they're not even close without those guys. But yeah, their pitching staff is like, ugh, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, like everyone, the rich get richer is what, if you look around social media and you're not a Dodgers fan, a lot of fans are up in the air that the Dodgers are going to be heavily invested in these guys. Bob Nightingale is kind of like my go-to source for Dodger information now. A lot of people like to clown on him, but I would say over the last 3 years, he has a really, really good track record in terms of Dodger information, at least. And he even said it himself. He said that the Dodgers are going to be in on the starting pitching market, whether that's trade or free agency. I'm banking them to get at least one of these top 5 arms that are available. I would say the one that's least likely is probably Corbin Burns because I just feel like he's going to demand such a high contract that the Dodgers would rather probably pivot elsewhere. Like Jeff Passan, he is predicting him to get over 200 million, which, it just seems like the Dodgers wouldn't give that to, a 30-year-old pitcher entering free agency right now, where he's seen some of, not the best season he had last year. In the postseason, he looked good in his lone start, but he did have an ERA over 3. Max Fried, I have the same issues like you said, but I still I feel like entering the offseason, I was like high on Max Fried, but then I started doing more and more digging on who's available. And I kind of got, swayed to the Blake Snell train, especially with everything we just mentioned. But Fried with the injuries, that is concerning because not only has his, velocity gone down, but he has battled, an injury last year. He has had forearm and elbow issues in the past as well. He's kind of adjusted his pitch repertoire to kind of, I guess, supplement those injuries because now he's like primarily a ground ball pitcher, which for the Dodgers, it would translate well. They are one of the better ground ball fielding teams. And if you look at the defense behind them, Max Muncy's made huge strides at third base. In that World Series, I thought he was Nolan Arenado. And, you got Miguel Rojas coming back. Second base, I think Mookie Betts is probably a lock to be the primary guy over there now. He fielded very well at second base in his time there in 2023 and 2024. And Freddie Freeman, I mean, this guy just doesn't get enough credit over there defensively. And now he won't have a bad ankle to go with him. But I just think they have options. Sasaki's another guy that's a wild card. I feel like it's easy to just include him in here because he's going to cost virtually nothing. He's just the international pool money, and then the Dodgers can just ink this guy. I know the media is trying to cause, like, oh, he may not go to the Dodgers. I don't buy any of that. And I know you said 70%, but I even said last week, I would say it's like an almost 90+% chance I
Then
think he comes to the Dodgers.
and then Bob
Um,
said 98.
yeah, Bob said 98. So I'm going with my guy there. I mean, if you add a guy like him, like you mentioned, Sasaki hasn't thrown over 100 innings more than once in his career. Only one season he did that, and it was 122, and that was his career best year. Every other year since then, it's been under 100. He's battled inconsistencies. He still looked dominant on his time there, but there was noticeable dips in velocity, spin, all this other stuff in these advanced metrics. So that could cause teams to be wary of it. But I feel like the Dodgers and any other team are just going to take the risk because you're not going to be giving up much. So I feel like that's why he's a lock to definitely be a Dodger. I think they're just going to throw him in that rotation. There's a lot of stuff going around with like endorsements, like, oh, will he make more money on his own? I even put out there today, I'm pretty sure he'll make more money with the trio of the other 2 Japanese players that are on our team. But what says you, Tim?
Well, first and foremost, Shohei Ohtani brings so much to this team with the exposure that Yamamoto and Sasaki can gravy train off that guy for years. They're going to be involved with all these things. I mean, the Japanese media that's there, they're always there. There's a lot of them. All those all of a sudden those people that were in Anaheim in 2023 with Angels things with Ohtani on the back, they all came to Los Angeles. So they all traded in their jerseys. It is overwhelming what that will happen in that way. And so I go, it just makes a lot of sense. And Bob, you're right about Bob. Bob's been very accurate. The guy also doesn't erase his tweets. He owns everything. He still has the Michael Waka over Corey Seager tweet out there. You can go look it up. The dude is very consistent. He doesn't erase his arson judges and all that stuff. I got nothing against John, but that's just what they do. That's how Bob is. He keeps it real. But also, another guy to throw in there into the mix is Jack Flaherty. I mean, he's not an ace. He's a 3 or a 4, and I'll take a good 3 or 4 if he can give us 160 innings. That's for sure. But I'd like to have Jack back. I think it's definitely you can never have enough pitching because pitchers break, and keep bringing them. Both Fried and Flaherty. Don't be surprised somehow if they come together because remember they're still buds, and they love the Dodgers. So you never know. I might be going a little Bowden on everyone here, or romanticizing things a little bit. But it's like, how many times do you get a chance to play for the Los Angeles Dodgers? They are the number 1 team in baseball. They have the number one player. They have the best or one of the top two managers in baseball. Their manager and then their whole management system. They know how to handle all these guys. They've found the right mix. And the clubhouse is good. You know, not only with the big three, but the Max Muncy types, Austin Barneses, and all the Miggy Rose. You got it's a good atmosphere. Who wouldn't want to play with that? And no matter what, you come play in Los Angeles, you're going to get taxed like crazy anyway. So, you know, you're going to make a lot of money. You're going to get a lot more endorsements than a lot of places. So, I think we're going to get a lot. I think it's going to be, in some ways, the Dodgers picking and choosing in some areas.
Yeah, and to go off of what, more of what Bob Nightingale said in that interview with AM 570, if anyone's interested to check that out from him. But pretty much the Sasaki news was that he says it's a 98% chance that he goes to the Dodgers. I think most in the league kind of are figuring that as well, which is why you're seeing such an outcry from social media. Look at me, Tim. I don't care. I'm a Dodgers fan, so I'm going to reap all this stuff right now while I can. Another thing is that's where I kind of also heard the Corbin Burns thing. He's looking for a seven-year contract, over $30 million per year. So he's definitely going to get over that $200 million contract that he's been seeking. Doesn't think the Dodgers are going to be on Burns because of that reason. But the big thing for me is a name we haven't really mentioned, who I know you've talked about, I've talked about, and that's Gavin Lux. This seems to be like a guy without a position right now, unless they want to try him out at shortstop again. I mean, I could see the Dodgers possibly holding on to him as a bench bat or a platoon bat, but if Mookie Betts is going to be your everyday second baseman, he's starting against lefties or righties. And I think next year they're going to want to try to keep him at one position. He's getting older. He's getting into his mid-30s. You want to keep him healthy. You want to keep him fresh. Obviously, if you want to get him off his legs and give him a spot start here or there, but this is a guy that's a lock to play over 150 games every single year as long as nothing goes wrong. Lux, I mean, what do you see with the Dodgers playing with Gavin Lux right now? Because I was high on Lux. I still like him. The at bat quality. I mean, he tied the game in the World Series in Game 5 with the sac fly. Good fundamental hitting. He hit really well in the second half, but there's a lot of Dodger fans that still don't like Lux. They don't want him on the team right now. But now it's kind of just looking like he may not even have a spot on the team, regardless if you like him or not. What do you see with the plan with Lux if you were in the chair?
Yeah, I look at it right now, so I'm gonna ignore all the Willy Adames chat for right now. Right now, if you were to go into the season, because Mookie is going to be the second baseman, it looks like I would put a lot of money on that. I would consider saying, okay, Luxy, you're going to get a chance at shortstop. This is kind of the last time. And I think it's almost like I feel like he deserves that. We know what happened in 2023. Now, obviously, in 2024 is a disaster. But in 2024, there is no switching with Mookie. He either does it or we have Tommy Edman and we have Miggy Rowe. We are covered at shortstop. Now, I don't want Miggy Rowe starting a lot. He just because of age, and we saw that he really got beat up this year. But Tommy Edman, man, what a great find. What a great trade. My gosh. Speaking of that, we should talk about Kopech, because remember, he wants to start.
He may have to start.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dodgers like to throw those bullpen games. They may need him to start some games this year if they have the same injury issues.
Yeah. But I think they should. There's no reason they can't do that. Give him a shot. That would mean Edman in center to start the season. We know, though, that how the season starts doesn't mean that's how it's going to end. The Dodgers will be able to make moves. Hopefully, James Outman can come back, and he comes back and can hit 250, 260, to hit 25 home runs. Like, that's what I think we were thinking he would do. He plays a great center field. Tommy Edman covers things in center. I prefer him not out there. I like him at short, but if it means Gavin Lux can have a shot and can start excelling, but if that's not the plan, they must trade him. It's not fair to bench a 26-year-old player like that and say, well, there you go. You're just a bench player now. They got to move him, play him or trade him. That's where it's at.
Yeah, and it really just depends on what the Dodgers' plans are because you mentioned the Willie Adames talk. That is real. This is a guy that they have had interest in the two plus years. Last winter was pretty much all I heard in rumors talks, whether whatever radio station you're listening to, whatever beat reporter you're reading. They Adames was the top trade chip last year. The Brewers ended up holding on to him, and now he's more than likely, I would say, leaving Milwaukee. I would say he's priced himself out of there. You're talking about a guy that can not only bring power to the shortstop position, which the Dodgers haven't had in a couple years, but you're going to bring elite defense. I know the defensive metrics kind of went down this year, but I mean, if you're getting those two tools from shortstop, relatively young age, he's going to command a pretty big deal. I'm not sure if the Dodgers go all in on him. I feel like offensively they kind of want to, bring Teoscar back first and then kind of go from there. And if they don't get a shortstop like Adames, or maybe they take a 1-year flyer deal on Ha-Seong Kim, that would kind of be a sexy backup option, and it would make a lot of Padres fans upset. So that's a-okay in my book. But if they really want to run next year as Rojas, Edman, and potentially Lux, I think they can get away with that. But if the Dodgers bring in a shortstop or a middle infielder, I just feel like you have to let Lux move on. Like you said, it's not fair to him, but he can get you something in return. There's going to be teams that are going to be interested in him. Say the Mariners, they need some offensive help, especially in the middle infield as well. And people have to remember, I know it's a long time ago, but he was the 2019, baseball player of the year, minor league prospect of the year. He was one of the best top prospects in the Dodgers farm system in a long time. And a lot of people even thought he was going to be better than Corey Seager. And injuries just happened to derail a lot of the stuff. And I agree with you. I think give him a full, fresh, clean slate. See what you can do if you don't make any major moves. But like you said, if they bring in Adames or somebody else, I just feel like you got to find a trade partner at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's part of it, right? That's just part of the way things worked out has worked out for Gavin. And yeah, I wish him the best, whether it's on the Dodgers or another team. I just want to see him have a chance to play and not rot on the bench. That's the worst thing they could do to him is sit him on the bench.
Yeah, and I think the Dodgers, compared to last offseason, a lot of fans were like, all right, what moves are they going to make? How are they going to round out this roster? The Dodgers going into this offseason, say they didn't make a single move, like not even bring Teoscar Hernandez back or anything like that. You look at the team that's on paper right now, there's still like one or two. I would argue very hard that they are the number one team in baseball without making a single move, considering all the players that are coming back, from the 60-day IL. I know Gonsolin is coming back after Tommy John. He looked really good, in his, minor league appearances this season. He looked really good when he was healthy and not battling arm issues just 2 seasons ago. That's a guy you're getting back. Dustin May, I just want him to succeed so bad because down to, just the eye test, he is the nastiest pitcher I've ever seen in person. He's the nastiest pitcher I would use in MLB The Show if I'm going to play that route as well. This guy is just a freak of nature when it's pitching, and I just feel like his curse is that he just can't stay on the mound, unfortunately, for more when your major league high or career high in innings is during the COVID shortened 2020 season. We got a problem here, and that's the case with Dustin May. But they got a lot of reinforcements on offense as well. James Outman's the guy that I really am curious of what they're going to do because he's also another guy where it's like he's kind of an older prospect. He's getting close to 30 now. What are you going to do with him? What are you going to trade him? Are you going to give him the Michael Busch route, get some prospects in return? Because I just feel like it would be a disservice to him as well to kind of just keep him at that quadruple A level. So Dodgers have a lot of players like that they can kind of either take a bet on, let them run it back again, or trade them from some other players or some other prospects, or include them in a possible big trade package for one of these big guys out there. Any other players that are piquing your interest that are currently on the roster? Could they be used as trade chips? What are you thinking?
Well, the big one is Dalton Rushing. I mean, he's ready or close to it. They were working him in left field. He is still also a catcher. If it could be that Teoscar, if they re-sign him, he plays right, Pages in center, and Rushing in left. Not the best defensive outfield, but remember again, it's probably not the outfield you're going to finish the season with. Plus, you'd have Dalton working both with Will Smith and Austin Barnes. He would probably get a little bit of time behind the plate because you don't want to lose that. They don't want him to lose that skill, and he's a true leader. I've seen it in person, and just he's a real student of the game. Very very impressive. One of the most impressive people that I've seen, and so he's a real wild card out there. And so I go, well, we've got that going too. But of course, if the Dodgers would have been willing to trade him, the Dodgers would have had Garrett Crochet. And I'm sure that might open up again. And there's probably not going to be, there's some of the silliness that Crochet talked about, if you recall. Oh, I don't want to, through the agent or whatever it was. I'm not going to pitch unless I get a contract or so. He won't be able to pull that crap if he gets traded in the off season. So that's a possibility also. But rushing, it would be a criminal to probably have him in AAA for too much next year, just maximum half the season.
Yeah, and that's a good segue to kind of what route will the Dodgers take? Because I feel like there's one of two ways they can go. It's either they trade for some of these guys or they go in free agency. And one of the things that we've liked to talk about on this page is that, or the channel and the show, is that Andrew Freeman rarely likes to lose trades. So more times than not, he would rather just not go through with the trade where he feels like he's giving up too much to be a part of it. That could be, a bad thing, but it could also be a really good thing because that means he hasn't traded away too much talent. But he's also gotten away with, maybe trading too many players away or too less of talent or more talent away than he has received. Obviously, everyone brings up the Yordan Alvarez thing. That's probably the most thing that he's known for. But you mentioned last season, Dalton Rusham, they did not want to, they were very reluctant to part ways with him. And Ken Rosenthal even stated that where that's kind of where talks fell through between the White Sox and the Dodgers. And then they pivoted immediately to Jack Flaherty from Detroit. So, and I didn't feel like the Dodgers had to really give up much for Jack Flaherty, albeit it was only half a season plus the October run that you get. So obviously the return package for Detroit's going to be significantly less than Crochet. But Crochet is an interesting one because he does have a couple years left. He's still under that arbitration phase. He has had the Tommy John surgery before, and 2023 or 2024 was the first year of his career as a starter. So, I mean, do the Dodgers go in the route of trading for starting pitching and getting the big fish in the market and Crochet, or do you just spend the money, keep your prospects, but maybe just lose a draft pick or two because of the CBT? I mean, what would you do? Because I know I like to hold on to these prospects because I think the Dodgers need depth. I would rather not trade a lot of these guys, especially for an arm like Crochet, where I'm kind of 50-50 on. You mentioned the comments last year. Like you said, I don't think he can pull that same message again, and I don't think he would if he was traded to a contender like the Dodgers. But again, the Dodgers vet these guys. They like to get the character of the player. So if they don't really want to pull the trigger on it, I could 100% understand. I just think, especially in the offseason in the winter, when you have the ability to just throw money at guys to bring them in without giving up anything else, I think that's the smarter way. Or am I wrong on that? Or would you do something differently?
No, you're 100% correct. Just to relive the offseason last year, the Dodgers threw a lot of money at players, obviously. And they did make a trade. They traded Pepio, and that was that was the biggest guy they traded. But that meant they still had all their ammunition for the trade deadline, and they were ready to spend it. They knew that they were in a position to do some stuff. And for them, it was an amazing trade deadline. And you know what? I make that Jack Flaherty trade all day, every day. And hey, I like Tehran Lorenzo. That's a dude that I actually really like as a human being. We've had some great interactions, but I do that every day. We got Flaherty was a big part of that, getting that team into the World Series because he was the one guy that could go 6 or 7 innings. And so he helped bring that staff together, allowed the people like Walker Buehler to baby themselves a little bit. Yamamoto, obviously, to baby himself to get ready for the postseason run. So I like the idea of keeping the prospects. Of course, I am a prospect hugger. We all know that. Um, and it's the different tiers though, right? Like we talked about with Lux and Outman. If they don't have a plan for them, trade them now. It's the right thing to do. But Dalton Rushing, they have to make that decision. Is this a guy we want to really go with? Or are we going to get overwhelmed in a trade where we just go, oh, we got to make that trade?
Yeah, and it seems like the Dodgers, they have a lot of talent. They know that. They don't rank high, in the farm system department for nothing. The drafting, the developing, all of that. Dodgers pretty much excel at that more than any other franchise in the sport. And you see it up close and personal covering the teams that you've covered through the minor league system. And every player that we've heard, they speak huge about what this team does for them, especially when they take chances on some other guys, whether they're DFA. We know the story of the Dodgers right now. I'm confident that the Dodgers are not going to Andrew Freeman, Brandon Gomes, the ownership, they're not going to be complacent and just becoming world champions in 2024. They didn't sign Ohtani just to win, one World Series in his tenure. I think you look at the way the team's stacking up right now, the 2025 team should be well set up to be better than what this season was. And they won the World Series this year. Now you have the ability to add to that. Like I said, I would keep most of the prospects. The only ones that I would trade would be the major league ready ones that you don't have a spot for, like a Michael Busch. Get some prospects for the future. If you're going to do trades like that, but also add in, like, say, re-sign a Teoscar Hernandez, bring in a Willy Adames, and bring in a starting pitcher from the free agent market, then you're golden. Because I like the way you've labeled your series on your channel. It ain't my money, because
Yep.
it really ain't my money. I put a lot of money into the team. I buy merchandise when I go to the stadium. I buy, $20 beer. I'm contributing to the fund of the team. And I don't, you've probably seen it because you're just a big Dodger fan and cover the team as well as I, where the amount of money that they've made just in year one of Ohtani has been more than any other team. Their annual revenue was projected around $700 million for just this season alone because of the impact of Ohtani. All the deals that they signed with international, airlines, you name it, they're very close now. And this is something that I've mentioned to a couple people in a couple shows in terms of, value of a franchise. They're creeping up there to the New York Yankees. They're at 6.6 right now, according to the last Forbes article I saw that they were mentioned on. Last season, the Yankees were at 7.5. I mean, it's getting a lot closer than when it was when the Dodgers declared bankruptcy in 2012, 2011.
Yeah.
So they've kind of came a long way. To make a long story short, the Dodgers can do whatever they want. They can spend the amount of money they want to. They do not care about the Steve Cohen tax. If they want to have a payroll of well over $300 million, they'll do it. And they'll do it again next year, and they'll do it the year after that until the next CBA comes out, and then, we'll see what happens with that. But I feel like right now you have to take advantage of all that and just spend the money that you earned.
Yeah, the window, you got to look at the Freddie window. Freddie's 35. Mookie's 32. Shohei's 30. He's going to be 31 coming up. There's a window there. Now, those guys take really good care of themselves, but as Mike Tyson we saw with Mike Tyson, Father Time is undefeated. And so that's something. But the other thing to just always remember for Dodger fans, they can spend all they want on the free agents, which we're all on board with. But at the same time, no matter how much they're spending on those free agents, they're making everything better and better and better in their minor league system. They're spending a buttload of money to build a new stadium in Ontario. It's going to be state of the art. I love Rancho. I hate that that's happening, but this new stadium is state of the art with state of the art training facilities, everything like that. Right now, when those guys go lift weights, they go walk down the foul line, the left field foul line, go through the bullpen, go through the hitting cages, and there's the weights, and they're outside. That's changing. It's going to be, it might even be close to some of these NCAA schools. You never know in terms of the training facilities. So they're going to keep doing that and keep developing these players. They're going to keep finding these nuggets that are out there. They're going to, and internationally in the draft, whatever it is, or those DFA guys, they just find ways to do it. So I do want to have more homegrowns on the roster. In 2020, when they won the World Series, of the members, 28-man roster, 14 of them were homegrown. This time, out of a 26-man roster, was only 6. I'd like to see a little bit more of that. But that's on the players, though. They have to. At the same time, they have to cooperate. They have to grow. But we see, next year we're going to have Edgardo Enriquez is going to be a presence in that bullpen. I think Dustin May is going to be a real presence in that bullpen. We will have Tony Gonsolin back in that rotation. Probably perfect. It is a 4 or 5 starter. I think that's just perfect for him. So that's some homegrown guys right there. So I think that it's coming, and there's a lot of guys that are, under 20 and under that are going to be flooding the system or used as trade bait.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers have to take advantage of their deep farm system. I definitely want to see Dalton Rushing get a shot next year. I've mentioned before, off air, where it's like maybe they run the 3 catcher trio like they did in 2019. I think he would be better suited to be a catcher. I love what they're trying to do with making him a left fielder to make him maybe appeal more to whatever the Dodgers plans are, or definitely as a trade chip to say, hey, he isn't just catch. He also plays left field. He shags balls out there. We'll see what he can do. But, we interviewed him here last year early on, I know how he was in college, Louisville Redbird. They pretty much produce just catchers just coming out. So, and then Will Smith was one, the Pirates catcher. I forget his name, the number 1 pick, like two years.
Something like Davis, right? That was the last name.
Yeah, somewhere along those lines. I remembered it then, but I'm trying to blanking on it right now. And Will Smith was the big one from that program as well. And Rushing just, he took the league by storm last year in the minor leagues, got called up, got promoted, was okay with the position change because he was just trying to do what was best for the team. Those are the type of players you want to keep around. And I don't anticipate him making the opening day roster, but he's definitely going to be a factor on the team if he's still on the team, which I imagine he still will be. I want to see Andy Paez get, good, consistent playing time because I think he has the ability to hit both lefties and righties. Obviously, we know he can hit lefties well. He had like a 157 WRC plus against them last year, but he can rake against righties too. He's got some good power. I think the defense stuff is a little bit overblown where they say he's not a good defender out there. If you've seen him before, he's made a lot of strides in getting better defensively, got a lot more in shape, especially after he had the labrum injury. So he's looking really good. We'll see what the Dodgers have planned for him. But Tim, looking at, we know what the team needs. We know what you want. I'm interested to see, you're in the chair, you're Andrew Freeman. You look at the free agent class, you look at the trade market, you look at the Dodgers prospects. What route are you going? What players do you have penciled in, circled down, highlighted, who you're doing research on, and who do you want the Dodgers to bring in this offseason?
Yeah, I'm going to say what I'm not into. Not that I wouldn't take it. I just don't think Willy Adames is that high of priority. I just don't. Another highly paid guy that's from the outside. And even though everyone says he's a good guy and all that, which is great. And I'll take him if we get him. But I'm like, that's low on my list. Even trading for Bo Bichette or something like that. Those are low items on my list. Ha-Seong Kim concerns me because he had shoulder surgery. So I am definitely going. First thing, I'm signing Teo, and I'm signing Buehler, I'm signing Treinen, and I'm signing Kike. Part of that is rewarding them for what they did. I mean, Kike took a low contract. I'm going to reward him a little bit. Treinen, he went 2 1/3 innings. Buehler came out to pitch that 9th inning and was doing all he can. And I think Walker made enough progress that he's going to make. I think we'll see a good, solid number 3 or number 4 starter there. So I'm signing those 4 guys. Then I'm going after that ace. I am going after. I'm going to get one of those aces. I'm definitely going to get Sasaki, and I'm bringing Kirsch back, obviously, and I'm looking. Hey, Joe Kelly, if you want to come back, great. Minor league deal, and you'll do like Daniel Hudson, have a chance to come back. And I look at Flaherty and I look at Fried, but I'm targeting Snell, and I'm going with that. And then I am doing the thing with Lux. I'm going to give him a chance, and I'm going to give Outman a chance, but I'm not going to give it to either one of them. They have to earn it, and hopefully they would. And if not, I got plenty of ammunition to go make some trades, and I'm sure they're going to make some trades. The bullpen will need to be kept up to speed. We don't know if anyone can replicate. And here's another factor that I thought about earlier, but if you remember in the early 2000, 2010, 2012, 2014, the Giants, they won that World Series. In 11 and 13, they didn't even make the playoffs. That was kind of an advantage, which helped feed them to the next season. It's going to be tougher because the Dodgers have pitched an extra month. That will be an impact on everything, in their workouts and everything like that. They're going to start differently, and that will make a big difference come spring training and into the season. So they also have to factor that type of stuff in. So they definitely. I'm just searching for every arm that's out there. Anyone who's coming off something, because the Dodgers just collect injured pitchers anyway. Go get some more of them. Some of them might work out, and keep looking for and you keep searching for the Anthony Bandits. But at the end of the day, they have a good foundation. Sign a lot of those guys back. Supplement. If Adames falls in the lap, that's great. Then you do need to trade Gavin Lux, and you do need to trade James Outman because you're going to put Tommy Edman in center. So that's where I'm looking. I'm still looking to keep what we have, keep our players we got, but treat them right.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers have, they can do whatever they want. They have a lot of room to play with right now, whether it's, they trade chips, they got them, cash, they got them, guys coming off contracts, they still got that. They got roster spaces available. I agree with you on all the stuff with re-signing players. I think you should just reward Treinen, going 2+ innings in a World Series game. Buehler, I mean, pitching on 1 day's rest to kind of come in on the bullpen and close out a game. I mean, risking his own health, that shows a lot of grit and shows where his loyalties lie. I've also mentioned it. I don't think Andrew Freeman's going to let his first round draft pick kind of leave in free agency with Buehler. I feel like that's very sentimental for him, but I agree with you. I think Buehler made a lot of strides. He changed up his pitch selection, his pitch mix, and he did that all October. And besides, the start in San Diego, I don't hold against him because I felt like that was more of like the team letting him down. And weirdly enough, this whole year, I think Buehler has like the worst outs above average in terms of his defense behind him. It's like negative something. And it kind of showed all year. It definitely showed in that second inning against the Padres. But other than that, he still went 4 more innings after that to give the Dodgers well positioned for their next game, which ended up being a bullpen game. Really good start in the NLCS and really good start and closing it out in the World Series. So I think he definitely comes back. Joe Kelly's interesting because I like how you mentioned maybe minor league deal with the, hey, if you don't make the roster, on opening day, then you can, we'll grant your release and you can go find somewhere else to play. I feel like they have such a good relationship. He has a good relationship with the fans. You could definitely see that working out because I think he needs to kind of bet on himself a little bit because he really hasn't shown much the last 2 years. Even when the Dodgers acquired him, he wasn't, super great after the deadline. So, and he wasn't healthy. I feel like that's the big thing with him.
Yeah.
Kershaw is just like a given. I feel like
Mm.
I don't even feel like we should even mention him because, he stated he's going to come back or he's going to retire. I think the Dodgers know what they want to do with that one. Once the 60-day IL opens in February, we can count on Kershaw just signing that 1-year contract again. Teoscar Hernandez, I just feel like that's a foregone conclusion. You have to bring him back. I love the idea of adding Juan Soto and all that. It's not going to happen. I put that as like a less than 1% chance unless, his market went down considerably or if he was willing to take like a 3 or 4 year deal with like $60 million a year, then you could say, yeah, I'm on board with that. But bring me back Teo. run back that offense right there. Starting rotation wise, I'm kind of moving to that Blake Snell territory as well. It was really a toss up between him and Max Fried, but once I start looking more at the numbers and what they offer, plus the qualifying offer thrown in there, I feel like the Dodgers are going to lean Snell there as well. So honestly, I'm picking up a lot of what you're putting down, Tim. I'm agreeing like a lot of it. I want the Dodgers to kind of make a decision on Gavin Lux. I feel like that's just the last thing that they have to do because the shortstop, if you fill it, then that kind of sets you up for the rest of the offseason. Like, all right, we got to trade some guys, we got to move some things around. But if you don't, then it's saying, all right, who's going to be in our shortstop carousel? We don't want to move Mookie Betts back there. Is it going to be Rojas for majority of the time? Is it going to be Edman? Is it going to be Gavin Lux? Do we try him back out there? So I feel like that's going to be a big storyline to watch this winter.
Yeah, concur. I mean, shortstop is the big one, and it's all hinges on how bad do they really want Willy Adames, because they also have Alex Freeland, who has made a lot of strides. But that's a big risk too, and that's not going to happen in 2025. I don't think. Never know. But yeah, they're the good thing is they're set. They're set with that. They have the options you all talked about, and one of those options can't be Mookie. That's just going to be too much on him. A little underrated thing, that hand injury was almost a blessing in disguise. He was ready to go in the postseason. Freddie went through a lot. He missed a lot of time. We don't like why he missed that time, but he got some rest. And so finding ways to rest those. But we got to have Mookie ready to go. I know Shohei Ohtani is the greatest baseball player on the planet, but man, you can't. Mookie Betts, what an amazing, amazing ball player. And it's protect Mookie at all costs. He ain't going back shortstop ever again. I know, no matter how much he loved it.
Yeah. I mean, I loved the fact that he just gave it a shot. For the first month of the season, it looked really good. Offensively, he was clearly the best shortstop in the league, but defensively, those numbers started to just go down because it's a hard position to play. And there's a reason why it's like catcher of the infield. There's very rare, offensive first shortstops, and the ones that are, they end up leaving shortstop when they hit 30. They don't go to shortstop when they're in their 30s. So, and like I said, Betts clearly should just be a second baseman if he's not going to be a right field. But I also agree with you there. I think that hit by pitch kind of was a blessing. It made the Dodgers say, hey, we're going to put him back in right field. This gives us the best positioning with the team that we have right now. And you could say the rest is history after that, because a lot of those balls, and you were there in New York, that were hit at Yankee Stadium hitting off that wall. He was getting to them, cutting them off the wall, like perfectly holding the Yankees. This is like the game within the game that everyone said the Yankees couldn't, the fundamentals. And Betts was playing those balls extremely well. That's where he's even more valuable. Like you said, Ohtani's obviously the best player, but I've always said it this whole year until he got hurt. Betts was the MVP of this team. I know Ohtani went with the God stats, 50 stolen bases, over 50 home runs, all that stuff there. But Mookie Betts was kind of the glue that made it work, if you understand what I'm trying to say there.
Oh, 100%. And when Mookie started getting going, the Dodgers started getting going. Because Ohtani, we lost him in game 2 of the World Series. But even through the playoffs, once game 4 hit, Mookie was Mookie. And it was great to see him really bust through and become that player in the postseason that we all know is there. And now he's now making himself a Dodger legend. He's going to go in the Hall of Fame as a Dodger. That's going to be awesome.
That's definitely what's going to happen. The Red Sox are going to look pretty mad about that one. I can't believe they still made that trade. I'm seeing more of that pop up on my social media now. A lot more people are talking about it. But, Tim, we're in the offseason now. 2024 was great. We're looking forward to what they're going to do in the 2025 offseason. What are they going to do to make this team even better? Because like I mentioned earlier on this show, I don't think they're going to be complacent. If you look at the year after 2020, they still made moves. The Padres made their moves in that offseason, extending Tatis, bringing in some guys. The Dodgers, I know that the signing didn't look good now. They brought in Trevor Bauer immediately after that on a very lucrative contract that kind of made the rest of the league said, man, they really added this guy. Dodgers can continue to do deals like that for this upcoming season. And like I said, I don't think they want to settle at one championship. They want, multiple championships in this window. Like you said, they only got a couple years left of Freddie in his prime. Mookie Betts is in his, early 30s, going to start getting to his mid 30s. And Ohtani coming off a couple surgeries, how long are we going to get him for a two-way player? So you want to kind of put all your chips in for these next couple of years. But any other closing thoughts before we end the show tonight?
Yeah, there was something, I don't remember, it was Caston. I think it was Caston had said a long time ago about the kind of the time, the way that the time period moves for this organization, and that right now that time period is basically a dynastic type period that they were looking at. It's part of the longer term plan. So I think they're going to go really hard this offseason. They want to become legendary. They want to be in one of those teams that people go, that was the dynasty. The last real dynasty was the Yankees in the late 90s, early 2000s. Giants doesn't count. They they did really well. They won 3 championships. That was wonderful for them. But they weren't making playoffs, or they lost one of them or something like that. They weren't a dominant team. They were a wild card team. Dodgers are a dominant team, and they have a chance to really dominate now. But there's that chance. And so as Dodger fans, buckle up, folks. I think we're going to, as Joe Davis will say, hold on to your butts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting offseason. Unfortunately, for the way MLB does their things, it's not like the NFL or the NBA where everything's agreed upon the first week or two of free agency in the offseason.
Yeah.
It's going to start clicking here soon. We're getting towards the end of November. Once December hits, people start going, the holidays, spring training really isn't that far away. A lot of these teams, they report early February, late January. They go to their camps or Arizona, Florida, wherever they're going, and they're going to start getting ready for the upcoming season. So next couple of weeks, the Dodgers are going to definitely be making some signings, some moves. So I'm looking forward to it. I know you're looking forward to it, and we're definitely going to have all that coverage on our channel. Tim, I know you're going to do all this stuff on your channel. Is there anything you want to plug for anybody that doesn't know where to find you? All your videos, social media, go ahead and plug that now.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's the Blue Madness podcast on YouTube, Dodgers 2080. It's just at Dodgers 2080 for the YouTube stuff. You can see me on all those social medias the same way, Instagram, Twitter, all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's the off season. We all as content creators, we love it. Our numbers really start rising up. It's all good. I really appreciate Cody being on your show. Nothing like the carne asada, huh?
Yeah. I mean, we got a lot of, interesting characters that come on the show. We get a lot of talent, we get a lot of in-game interviews, player interviews, all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, everyone's got to give Tim a reach out here. He does a really good job, especially with the minor league part of it, which I think if you're a really in-depth Dodgers fan, you really got to get involved with all that. And just the camaraderie between all of the Dodgers channels out there. There's a lot of content creators that are covering the Dodgers in a variety of different ways with a variety of different flavors and characters that are covering the team. So Tim's definitely a guy that you want to check out. And then in terms for our channel here at the Bleed Lows podcast, we're definitely going to have another live this week. We're definitely going to be covering a lot of events this week with Thanksgiving coming up. I know the Dodgers Foundation is doing their turkey giveaway. I know Roger's going to be there for that. A lot of the signings that are going on with the players celebrating their World Series. I know this weekend we'll also have some interviews on that with Walker Buehler and such. The best way to find all that stuff is just to subscribe, turn on the notifications, and definitely follow us on social media. And then if you want to get your eyes working a little bit more, DodgersBeat.com is where we're doing all of our writing. We're going to start doing our player reviews for the 2024 season. And I got content coming out there every day as well. So again, Tim, thanks for coming on. I mean, we'll have to do this again a couple more times, maybe through the off season. All right.
For sure. No, it's always great to be on here. Appreciate you guys for having me on.
All righty. And that will do it for this episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. This episode was brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. Have a good one, guys.